Top of the morning to you. Welcome back to the channel for the recently deceased. Before I introduce my next guest, if you haven't done so already, be sure to tickle that like and subscribe buttons down there. It really helps the channel out. Now, to help celebrate St. Patrick's Day, visiting me all the way from the Emerald Isle, please welcome the Banshee. Banshee, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about... I love a woman who's vocal. Right, now so does that mean that someone's gonna die? You better take the rest of the night off, Cole, and get your affairs in order. So, how did you get into this line of work, if you don't mind me asking?
I started out as a keening woman.
Keening?
It's a traditional form of vocal lament in Gaelic Celtic culture, but the practice all but died out in the last century.
And in the afterlife, you're still wailing?
Death will not silence us.
Wait, us? So there's more than one of you?
Aye, we are many across Ireland. Typically we appear to the living as one, but when several of us appear, it is a sign of imminent death of someone who is great or holy.
Funny, I didn't hear you when I died. So how far do you go back? Because I lived through the Black Plague, right? And that was like the 14th century or so.
The first known mention of us in literature was in 1380. Those stories of me can be traced back to the early 8th century. One such story tells of a woman who went to King James I of Scotland in 1437 to warn him of his imminent murder after hearing my cry.
So, right, you probably never met St. Patrick then, right? Because he was around like the 400s and you came a couple of centuries later. Hey, did you know that St. Patrick was the very first Uber driver? He drove the snakes out of Ireland. And speaking of Patrick, I have an account here from one Patrick Farrell of Kildare, and this was published in the Irish Times in 1893. And I'm going to try my best to conjure his voice here. After some time, I heard coming from a bush in the middle of a small paddock at the back of me house a long, low wail, and after the time, the most piteous sobbing I ever did hear. Being then a disbeliever in banshees, ghosts, goblins, fairies, leprechauns, and company, I was glad of an opportunity to test once and for all their genuineness. I set out alone with a stick to investigate. Among the shrubs, I saw a deer, milk white, and sobbing in the most heart-rending manner. I watched for 5 minutes, and then I took a swing at the animal. The stick passed through space, but I heard such a scream as I hope and pray shall never fall on my ears again. So, and apparently, Farrell, he fled the scene, right? To later discover that his cousin in Australia had died the same night. Now, there's a lot to unpack there, right? First of all, what are you doing hitting a deer with a stick? The poor thing was probably albino, right? It's probably teased at school, and that's why it was sobbing. Now, second of all, I didn't know that banshees could shapeshift, so is that like some sort of other power you got, or?
Nay, that sounds more like the Fae.
Oh, the Fae, right. Yeah, there's a lot of other supernatural beings in Ireland, not just the Banshee, and including the Dullahan. Tell me about this character.
Aye, he is the personification of death itself. A headless horseman who carries his head in one hand and a whip made from human spine in the other, which he uses to blind the eyes of those who see him.
Wait, a whip made from a human spine? I think this guy's been playing way too much Mortal Kombat.
He's typically seen riding a black horse or driving a carriage drawn by 6 headless horses.
Yeah, I'm sensing a little theme here. I think all this guy needs is a little head. There you go. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. I want to thank the Banshee for being here. Make sure you download her new album of non-stop screaming and wailing over on iTunes. Have a happy St. Patrick's Day. Never trust the living. And sláinte.
Sláinte.